one language, and the people of Shinar sought to make a name for themselves by building a city and a tower to the heavens. But God, seeing their pride, confused their language, and the unity of mankind was broken. Unable to understand one another, they left the city, abandoning the Tower of Babel. From there, God dispersed them over the face of the earth, fulfilling his plan to populate the world with diverse nations and tongues. 10 generations after Noah, Abram was born into the house of Terah. His birth marked the beginning of a journey that would fulfill God's promise to bless all nations through him, setting the stage for the unfolding of God's plan. The Lord called Abram to leave his homeland and journey to the land of Canaan, promising to make him a great nation and bless all the families of the earth through him. Abram obeyed, building altars to the Lord in Shechem and Bethel, but famine drove him to Egypt. There he deceived Pharaoh, claiming Sarai was his sister, leading to great plagues upon Pharaoh's house. When the truth was revealed, Pharaoh returned Sarai to Abram and sent them away with their possessions, as God's blessing and protection remained with Abram on his journey. Abram left Egypt with Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his nephew, along with all their possessions, returning to the land where he first called upon the Lord. Conflict arose between Abram's and Lot's herdsmen, so Abram generously offered Lot the choice of land. Lot chose the fertile Jordan Valley, leaving Abram in the land of Canaan. After Lot departed, God promised Abram that his offspring would inherit the land, as numerous as the dust of the earth. Abram, in faith, built an altar to the Lord at the oaks of Mamre, marking his trust in God's promise. War broke out in the valley of Sodom, and Lot, Abram's nephew, was taken captive during the chaos. When Abram heard of this, he rallied 318 trained men and pursued the invaders as far as Dan. In a daring night raid, Abram defeated the enemy, recovering Lot, his family, and all the stolen possessions. In the valley of Shava, Abram was blessed by Melchizedek, the king of Salem, who brought bread and wine. When the king of Sodom offered him rewards, Abram humbly refused, declaring his trust in God alone as the source of his blessings. The Lord appeared to Abram in a vision, saying, "Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great." Despite Abram's doubts about having no children, God promised that his offspring would be as countless as the stars. In faith, Abram prepared an offering as commanded. As darkness fell, a smoking firepot and flaming torch passed between the offerings, sealing God's covenant. To Abram and his descendants, the Lord promised a vast land, from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates, fulfilling his eternal promise. Sarai, unable to bear children, gave her servant Hagar to Abram, and Hagar conceived. But tension grew as Hagar looked with contempt upon Sarai, leading to conflict in their household. Fleeing into the wilderness, Hagar encountered the angel of the Lord, who promised her a son, Ishmael, destined to be a great nation. Returning in faith, Hagar gave birth to Ishmael, and Abram, at 86, saw the first step in God's unfolding promise for his descendants. At 99, Abram encountered God, who renewed his covenant and renamed him Abraham, promising him descendants as numerous as the stars. God also blessed Sarah, renaming her and promising a son, Isaac, through whom his covenant would endure. Abraham laughed in awe at the thought of a son born in their old age. In obedience, Abraham established the covenant of circumcision among his household, marking their faithfulness to God's eternal promise. One day, the Lord appeared to Abraham by the great oaks of Mamre. 3 mysterious visitors arrived, and Abraham rushed to serve them, unaware of their divine nature. As they dined, they foretold the impossible. Sarah would bear a son within the year. Hidden in the tent, she laughed in disbelief. But the Lord replied, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" As the visitors rose to leave, they turned toward Sodom. The Lord revealed his plan to judge the city's great wickedness. But Abraham interceded, pleading, "Will you destroy the righteous with the wicked?" And so began a desperate negotiation to save the innocent. 2 angels arrived in Sodom at evening, where Lot welcomed them into his home, unaware of the night's coming danger. As darkness fell, the men of Sodom surrounded the house, demanding the angels be brought out. But the angels struck them blind. At dawn, the angels urged Lot's family to flee, for the Lord would destroy the city. Fire and sulfur rained from the heavens, reducing Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes. But Lot's wife, looking back, became a pillar of salt. In the hills, Lot and his daughter sought refuge, but their story took a dark turn as they sought to preserve their family line. A weary yet faithful Abraham arrives in Gerar with Sarah, calling her his sister. King Abimelech, unaware of the truth, takes her into his household, only to be warned in a midnight vision that she is another man's wife. At dawn, he confronts Abraham, seeking answers that lead to repentance and reconciliation. Restitution swiftly follows, and Abimelech restores Sarah with gifts, honoring Abraham's God. Abraham is thanking God in prayer, and the Lord's healing light descends upon the king's household.